Scientists believe that polar bears eat cubs in the late summer and autumn when seals, their typical prey, are at sea and less available. It may be hard to believe that such cute animal can eat their own kind. Actually, it is gruesome, but many animals have been recorded feeding on their own species. Here are a few cannibalistic animals, including some that might surprise you. Snakes. Many snakes eat other snakes, but at least one species of rattlesnake, the Mexican lance-headed rattlesnake, has been recorded to eat their young. But don't worry, these mothers only eat the babies that have either already passed away or are too weak to survive. Other than that, some species of vipers and pit vipers are notorious for eating their own young, especially when they are born out of their mother's burrow. The reason that they do this is that it is a survival mechanism. Rattlesnakes are considered New World pit vipers and are venomous snakes that only occur in North and South America. One explanation for why a snake might bite its own tail is that when kept in small containment, the snake is unable to stretch out fully and may think that its tail is that of another snake. Also, the Ouroboros is an image of a wild animal eating its own tail, connected to ancient mysticism as a symbol of death and rebirth. Unfortunately, in real life, a snake eating itself generally just means death for that snake. More than 100 snake species turn on their own kind. 6 cobra species in southern Africa are snake eaters, and 5 of them are cannibals. The Cape cobra, for instance, is second only to the puff adder in abundance, and a hungry one is likely to come across others of its own species. Frogs. As well as cannibalism occurring between mothers and young, it can also happen between siblings. This is the case with tadpoles of cane toads, wherein larger tadpoles will feast upon their just hatched younger brothers and sisters. This behavior has been seen most commonly in Australia, where cane toads are an invasive and destructively abundant species. Cannibalism is thought to be a response to within-species competition for resources, as they do not have any other competitors. Interestingly, the behavior reveals a case of fast evolutionary adaptation, as Australian tadpoles have started to mature much faster than their native South American counterparts. In doing so, they reduce the risk of becoming a snack for their older siblings, as only small tadpoles are eaten. Dark fishing spider. Talk about long-suffering moms. Some female spiders allow their young to eat them alive. Matriphagy, or mother eating, is exceedingly rare in nature, but present in the dark fishing spiders. For their study, Junghans and colleagues set up an experiment in which they placed 2 mated female spiders and 3 virgin females with several young spiders. And they have found that may seem unthinkable for a child to cannibalize its mother, but that happens for real. It's important to understand matriphagy has evolved over many generations to be the most effective means of ensuring the survival of the species. You will be surprised to know that even the tiny species on Earth can be equally dangerous to their own kind. Meerkat. Fluffy, cuddly meerkat moms devour babies of their own species. In a meerkat group, the alpha female kills and even eats pups born to other females in order to secure food and free nannies for her own babies. To quantify the benefits that alpha females gain from such behavior, researchers gave subordinate female meerkats contraceptive shots that stopped their reproduction for 9 months. During that time, the dominant female gained more weight and groomed bigger pups, while the subordinates provided more food and care for the alpha's babies. Polar bear. Much has been written about how climate change is destroying Arctic environments and driving polar bears and other species to increasingly desperate acts of survival. But photographers from National Geographic were still shocked when they captured footage of an adult polar bear killing and devouring a younger bear. And while it's believed that this behavior isn't only being caused by climate change, there are fears that it's becoming more common as a result of dramatically shrinking environments for these giant beasts. These animals are more likely to eat their young in the spring and summer as the seal populations, and ice floes on which to hunt for them, begin to become less accessible. Unfortunately, these cute animals are animals that ate their own kind. Cannibalism in animals usually takes the form of larger and more aggressive male bears targeting smaller females and vulnerable cubs. Chicken. Chickens aren't recognized as the smartest birds on the planet, so it's only natural that their acts of infanticide and cannibalism are not always intentional. In many cases, eggs from domesticated chickens simply break due to a coop being overcrowding, and then a chicken accidentally eats it, not realizing what it is. Unfortunately, this can lead to the chicken developing a taste for eggs and even sharing that with others. In fact, many make use of decoys that will change the habits of the chicken. Many chickens can't tell the difference between an egg and a golf ball, and they'll be dissuaded from continuing to munch on their own eggs once they've seen how hard it is. Others make use of specially crafted dummy eggs to dissuade their fowl. European rabbit. A wild mother rabbit will sometimes eat a stillborn baby if a predator is sensed to be nearby in an effort to keep her and her surviving bunnies safe, though sometimes mothers have been known to eat their own in times of extreme hunger, thirst, or cold. Sometimes a lack of dietary protein also induces baby cannibalism in rabbits. After giving birth, they are often drained of energy, so it is imperative to feed pregnant rabbits a good protein-rich diet in the late weeks of pregnancy to prevent them from malnutrition. Rabbits will know if their litter is stillborn, and if that's the case, they'll not hesitate to be the animal that eats their kids. They don't like leaving traces around them, so despite being herbivores, they devour their stillborn litter. Common chimpanzee. Chimps are some of the smartest animals on the planet, and one of the species most closely related to humans, but they also have a propensity for eating their young. This behavior is most prevalent and dramatic during conflicts between chimpanzee groups. Driven to compete violently for control of food, they'll kill the young of opposing tribes, share the meat, and then retreat into the trees to eat it. But males have also been seen simply stealing newly born infants from the arms of their mothers and killing and devouring them, and scientists believe that it's so they can increase the number of breeding opportunities. Females have also been seen killing infants unrelated to them, but this is even rarer still. Cannibalism isn't a common occurrence in the wild animal kingdom, but it does help explain why female chimps tend to retreat into hiding when giving birth. Lion. While male lions maintain harems of females that they breed with, these big cats are renowned for being good mothers and fathers, and female lions are often even willing to nurse the cubs of other females in the pride. Unfortunately, infanticide is not uncommon thanks to the scarcity of available breeding partners. Fathers evict their cubs from the pack at a certain age so they don't become competition, and these roving young lions will often seek out an established pride to claim as their own. In many instances, lions who take a new pride will kill the cubs both to remove competition and bring the females back into heat. Unfortunately, there are also instances where a mother will kill and devour a cub after the rest of the litter has died. Rather than having to dedicate an extended period to raise a single cub, it makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint to simply start over with a new litter. There are sad incidents of lions becoming the animals that ate their owners. Comment if you know any of the stories. Tonkian black macaque. Tonkian macaques, which are native to southeastern Asia, are known to carry around their babies' lifeless bodies for hours or days, turning them into animals that eat their own kind. It's unclear whether they do this out of grief or simply don't understand that their offspring has died. The apes often groom their beloved baby until its little body disintegrates. But scientists were shocked to see first-time mom Eveline devouring her baby's decomposed body after carrying it around with her for 28 days. They watched her nibble on it bit by bit, leaving just a single bone. After Eveline's infant died at 4 days old, she became clearly stressed, screaming at her own reflection. She continued to lick and carry the dead infant even after its head fell off 14 days later. Desert pupfish. Many animals go to great lengths to ensure the survival of their offspring, yet some species actually eat some or all of their babies. There is not always an obvious explanation, like a food shortage, for such filial cannibalism. Researchers have now investigated personality differences between individuals, which may play a role in species that practice filial cannibalism. They observed the desert pupfish, a marine fish of up to 6 centimeters in length, to see how male individuals behave toward their eggs. Animal cannibalism often occurs in fish species in which males care for the eggs or young. It appears that this filial cannibalism, on the face of it destructive and counterproductive, is a part of adaptive behavior. Praying mantis. Nature is full of mystery, and the praying mantis is one part of that mystery. When it comes to cannibal animals, most people think first of the praying mantis because of its mating ritual, in which the female will sometimes tear off the head of her male counterpart and eat it in order to nourish herself in order to provide her soon-to-be gestating offspring. Snail. Generally, a snail will eat whatever it can get a hold of. Freshwater snail babies immediately move into survival mode after hatching. They often eat their own eggs for the calcium they require to harden their shells. One of the most important food ingredients for snails is calcium. Whether they consume plants surrounding them or you provide them with food, they should have calcium. If you are feeding your pet snail and the food doesn't include calcium, you can add powdered calcium to the soil. Snails completely stop eating food when they are mating, mostly in the middle of June. But this is nothing to worry about. When they lay eggs, they will start munching on food again. Scorpion. Some people find scorpions to be incredibly fascinating. You might find them interesting because of how neat they look, and some people like learning about scorpions due to the fact that certain types of scorpions can be very dangerous. Scorpions will usually have around 100 babies at a time, and when the mother can't find enough bugs or grubs to eat, she will sometimes eat a few of her own in order to survive. A scorpion walks away from the remains of another scorpion that it has just killed and eaten. Walleye fish. Walleye is a very common recreational fish in Canada, with a strong cannibalism tendency, such that walleyes with larger sizes will consume their smaller counterparts when food sources are limited or a surplus of adults is present. Walleyes do eat their own species, which is called cannibalism. Frankly, cannibalism is significant enough to affect the population dynamics of walleye. This phenomenon is very noticeable in a lot of lakes. There has been a controversy about the cause of cannibalism. Population loss due to cannibalism can be surprisingly high among walleye. The ultimate fact: in the eastern Bering Sea, almost 3/5 of the annual mortality of the total walleye pollock population is caused by cannibalism. Black widow spider. Another animal that regularly exhibits sexual cannibalism is the black widow spider. The females of this venomous arachnid genus will commonly devour the much smaller males, sometimes mid-copulation. It is this penchant that inspired the name widow. Although sometimes they try to escape, a lot of the time males accept their grim fate or are even willing participants. In an act called copulatory suicide, some males will actually somersault into the waiting female's jaws. Razorfish. Razorfish are blind carnivores, a type of fish that lives in the aquifers of Nightwish caverns. They get their name from the sharp dorsal fin on their backs. Razorfish can feel changes in water current and temperature, and they can smell blood from a long distance away, similar to sharks. The dorsal fin on their backs is sharp enough to cut through leather armor and even light metal. Plenty of fish eat their smaller and less developed siblings, but Dorada larvae will attack and devour their big brothers and sisters. And male razorfish cozy up to females in what looks like an attempt to mate, but when the ladies let the eggs loose, the males gobble up the eggs and bolt. Egyptian mouth-brooder. Raising babies can be exhausting, so much so that some mouth-brooding mothers snack on their young. A Central African cichlid fish, commonly called Burton's mouth-brooder, sometimes consumes more than 3/4 of its own eggs and baby fish. Mouth-brooding is common among fish, particularly cichlids, colorful freshwater species that are popular as aquarium pets. After their eggs are fertilized, Bertoni moms will shelter them in their mouths for roughly 2 weeks to protect them from predators. After the eggs hatch into tiny larval fish, the babies venture outside their mother's mouth but scurry back in when there's danger. It's a great start for the young fish, but it's extremely tiring for the mother cichlid who can't breathe properly or eat during that period. The new study shows, however, that the suffering moms can counter that by consuming some of their young, a behavior called filial cannibalism. Parasite wasps. When you're a growing wasp baby with a ravenous appetite and a dwindling supply of insect corpses to eat, home delivery isn't an option. Your next meal is whatever's nearby in your sealed nursery, and for some larvae that means tomorrow's dinner will likely be their closest brother or sister. Parasitic wasps are animals that eat their babies. These tiny creatures lay their eggs inside the bodies of other insects, such as caterpillars. When the eggs hatch, the baby wasps feed on the body of their host until they are ready to emerge and start hunting for food on their own. As for when and how wasp larvae realize that their original food supply is running low and that sibling cannibalism is their best option for survival. Gilt-head bream. Sea bream is found in the Mediterranean Sea and the eastern coastal regions of the North Atlantic Ocean. It is one of the best-tasting species of the bream group. It features heavily Mediterranean cuisine. When it comes to size and appearance, the length of the gilt-head bream can range between 1.15 feet and 2.3 feet. It can also weigh up to 16.2 pounds and has a gold bar marking between its eyes, which is the source of its species name. Though this fish feeds mainly on shellfish, it has been known to consume some plant materials. Usually, when cannibalism is expressed in any species, it typically involves larger members of the species eating the smaller ones. However, gilt-head breams form the animal attack and devour their big brothers and sisters. Tiger salamander. Tiger salamanders begin life by munching aquatic crustaceans and insects. But about 4 weeks after birth, some of the creatures develop wider heads and enlarged teeth. Then they make their living preying primarily on other salamanders. Salamanders growing up among relatives are less likely to become cannibals than those raised with non-relatives. The research supports the inclusive fitness theory. This theory provides an explanation as to why cannibalism is the salamander's method to help its relatives. When the salamander becomes cannibalistic and eats non-relatives, it removes some of the competition for valuable resources. As an example, by eating the non-relatives, the relatives have more food available. Freshwater shrimp. If the animal happens to be a freshwater shrimp from Northern Ireland, a tiny parasite known as mullary seems to play a role. The finding reported in Royal Society Open Science lends weight to the view that parasites promote cannibalistic behavior as part of a complex evolutionary game. The shrimp occasionally eat each other even when they're not infected with parasites. But researchers found that the infected shrimp were more likely to become animals eating their own kind and made them more voracious too. The parasite takes root in the shrimp's muscles, making them less able to catch prey from other species. Perhaps cannibalism of smaller shrimp is the only way these sick animals can survive. Who doesn't love sharks? Or a shark show? But can you take the news if I tell you that they are the species who are into cannibalism? Tiger sharks. Female sand tiger sharks foster a unique case of sibling rivalry before their babies are even born. The first embryo to reach a size of about 2 inches in length hatches from its egg capsule and is called the hatchling. Having used up all of the resources from within its own egg, the hatchling almost immediately hunts for more food sources. This animal attack kill and consume all of the siblings on its side of the uterus. As it does this, it becomes even larger, stronger, and hungrier. It then begins to eat the unfertilized eggs in the mother's reproductive tract. This phenomenon is called egg eating, and it's a way for a mother to provide additional nourishment to her strongest babies. Prairie dog. Not all prairie dogs kill their young, but it's been observed with some frequency in 3 different species: Gunnison's Utah and black-tailed. But the issue is most prolific in black-tailed prairie dog communities, where up to a third of offspring can fall victim to infanticide. Normally, it's not the mother, father, or even a competing male that kills the young. Instead, female family members of the mother will kill and eat her litter when she leaves for an extended bout of foraging. There are a number of reasons for the commonality of this brutal behavior. The first is that it leaves more resources for the litter of the prairie dog that committed the crime. But it also means that the grieving mother will have more time to help out raising the extended family once the short grieving process is over. Rats. A mother rat can potentially eat her babies, but this is a very rare event. This normally only happens for a range of reasons, including the mother is close to starving to death, the baby is already very ill or dead, or the mother has some kind of mental health issue. It does happen, but don't think for a second that every mother is going to be thinking about eating at least one of their young. It's only going to occur in severe circumstances, so it's not a regular event. The first thing we need to say is that it's entirely possible she is feeling rather stressed about being a mother, and she believes she cannot cope. Comment if you ever thought rats fighting was cannibalism. Do you find pygmy hedgehogs cute? I am sure you will eventually start hating this innocent face after learning this. African pygmy hedgehogs. Infant hedgehogs are at risk after being born. According to studies, it's from their own mother. Mothers are known to eat their babies if they are scared. In wildlife, African pygmy hedgehogs are natural omnivores eating spiders and insects, plants, and bird eggs. Hedgehogs are no exception to this and have been known to eat their own young. While it is difficult to prove definitively just why some hedgehogs choose to eat their hoglets, there are a few reasons why a mother hedgehog may resort to consuming her young. Caecilians. Aside from spiders and insects, there are other species that also practice matriphagy, Caecilians. These elusive underground creatures are actually limbless amphibians. Unlike the crab spiders, the cost of their cannibalism is not death, as they produce a special outer layer of skin rich in fat and nutrients for their babies to eat. The young will rip off and eat this skin with specially adapted teeth, and the skin then grows back, being replaced every 3 days. This allows the young to grow very quickly. Hippopotamus. Hippos are another species that occasionally carry out this strategic infanticide. They are not known to eat the babies, however. Instead, they have been recorded eating the corpses of other adults. This is especially surprising given that they are primarily herbivores. Scientists suspect that this behavior is born out of extreme need when other safer food is scarce. Now, scientists have captured one of the first cases of cannibalism in hippopotamuses on camera. The grisly photographs show a hippo eating the corpse of another floating in a river in South Africa's Kruger National Park. Cannibalism is one way for creatures to get all the nutrients they need in one convenient package. Don't be upset, your favorite pet is the next. Dogs. Dogs are considered to be the most loyal of all pets, but even these furry friends eat their own young if they are threatened. According to the ASPCA, when puppies are born, their mother may eat them if she feels they are in danger. This is most likely to happen if there are other dogs in the home that may threaten the puppies. It's not just domesticated canines that do this either. Wolves, coyotes, and jackals are also known to consume their young in times of peril. Also, there are incidents where pets that ate their owners is actually a dog. Comment if you know any brutal dog animal parents near you. Which animal's cannibalistic behavior surprised you the most? Do you think eating their own kind is a survival tactic? Let us know in the comments below. Like always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and leave us some love in the comments section. To keep up to date with all of our awesome videos, be sure to hit subscribe and turn your notifications on to never miss a thing. Until next time, do take good care of yourself.